Wanting more doesn't mean you don't like what you have. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate what you have. It means your frequency is going up, your evolution is rising, you're moving up the chakras in your expansion and your evolution, and you can still love what you have and want more. I would say that it's actually imperative that that happens because a gratitude practice and a true appreciation of what you have will always help you to expand in what's coming to you or what you're experiencing. Welcome to Intuition, Your Joy Compass. This is the podcast where intuition gets embodied and joy leads the way. This is where we integrate your humanness and your soul. They don't have to compete and they don't have to work against each other. Your soul comes in with joy. Your human self wants to learn joy. It just makes sense to merge them. I'm Vicki Baird, your intuitive guide, and also your wisdom-led mindset coach. And I want to bring the truth that you do not have to transcend your human experience to feel lit up and to feel aligned. You need to integrate it. And that is what we will do here. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be a fun episode because I'm feeling a little spicy today. And spicy in a good way. You know, when there's just the perfect amount of heat on your food, or you get that really good wasabi that is actual wasabi and not horseradish like we have in the States. And it just burns right up through your sinus cavity and you swear you're not going to do it again, but it's just so good that you absolutely will do it again. That's this episode, or at least it feels like that's what this episode is going to be. I don't plan this out very much in advance. I do a bullet point and then we just let spirit come through and go from there. So what I want to talk about is how you can stop shrinking what you want and allow more desire in, allow the abundance in wanting to come in. Wanting does not make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. Our soul comes into this lifetime, every lifetime on really, and says, I want more, 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 and more, because it wants more experience. It wants to put into action the, observations, the dreams, the desires that it's had in being in the non-physical, but also being in the physical in previous lifetimes, right? So each time we come in, we want more. We want to expand. And there's a tendency, especially with women, to minimize our desires and put other people first before you even have a chance to explore what wanting more looks like. And other people become the priority, or the job becomes the priority, or heck, sometimes putting food on the table becomes the priority. There were many, many times in my younger years, especially while raising kids, that if you had said to me, Vicki, you have to put some effort into what you want or expanding your self-awareness, I would have looked at you and said, I'm in survival mode right now. So you better back up, because right now I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to pay this mortgage on top of what the kids are involved in with school and get gas in the car. So sometimes there's that like crash of desires, because absolutely you will desire having a stable life, which may mean you have to focus right now on your work or whatever's creating income for you. And yet that soul craving, that desire for expansion is still going to be there. And I find that when we have an honest conversation with that it's not greedy to have ambition or to have that desire, to have more money, to heck, want more rest, more support, ease, maybe a few less lines, to be more impactful. Like, we can have all of these desires and not limit ourselves. And there are going to be priorities that need to step up, and that's fine. That's fine. But what I'd love for you to do is allow the conversations with yourself to still be there. Because oftentimes, especially with women, will say, I don't need that much. I'm fine. Oh, I can't stand that fine statement. It's fill in the F word for the first line, incapable of naming emotions. One of my clients told me that, and I love it. So, and whenever someone says I'm fine, I think, okay, there's a lack of understanding or connection here because we're using that word because you can't name the emotion. Oftentimes, I think people are just afraid to name the emotion because sometimes that can open the floodgates. So, one of the other limiting things that I hear women say is, "I shouldn't want that," and if you've listened to this podcast more than a few episodes, you know I will always suggest you not should on yourself. Thank you, Loretta LaRoche, comedian who ran with that line probably about 30 years ago. So, you absolutely will want things. It's a natural wiring within all of us. That's why babies reach for things or they crawl or, I mean, they walk, is there's a natural desire in there to want more. Sometimes people say, well, I don't know who I am to ask for more. Shouldn't I just be grateful for what I have here? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You want to be grateful for what you have, who you are, and what's going well in your life, or even the messages and the lessons from what's going well in your life. But if you have these minimizing thoughts of, I don't need much, I'm fine, who am I to ask for more? Your soul is over in the corner going, ma'am, we had plans. We were coming in to experience everything we possibly could, which may be, we just finished planting 9 raised bed gardens, all vegetables. We didn't get the 10th one done because you know what? I don't want to. I don't want that 10th one filled. I feel like that's the gift to the universe. Like, here's our empty bed, and whatever Mother Nature wants to plant in it, she can absolutely plant. That's her bed. But your soul is always going to say, we had plans. I wanted to learn about everything, every little tiny thing, and not make it necessarily something you have to do anything about, but just to learn. And what I'd love to get through to as many people as possible is there's nothing greedy about ambition. That line just, oh, it frustrates me so much because it's actually really hard to find people with drive right now. I work a lot with my clients in getting the, best people for the job in their positions and like organizing their company to succeed. And to do that, you need to bring in smart people, people who are capable of doing their job. Well, it's rough out there right now for employers to get someone who is ambitious, who is driven, who does want to expand not only themselves, but the business that they're in. So I feel like if we send a message out that this is a good thing, it's a good thing to want more, and you can still be grounded, generous, emotionally mature human. One of the intentions I've had for a very long time is the more financially abundant I am, the more generous I can be. And I hold that very dear to me as one of my goals and intentions when I'm manifesting what my income might be or what my business does. It's because that giving back or that supporting others and donating is very important to me. So it's a way to stay grounded, but while wanting more. And I feel like there's a tendency, especially for women, to minimize within our own language. Like we'll say, oh, that's no big deal. I worked a little while on this. Meanwhile, they put in years of experience and trial and error and everything. And then there's that minimizing of their language. And that's frustrating to me because how we speak to ourselves translates directly in how we care about ourselves. And that desire is data. It shows you where you're being called to expand. If you want more, you're expanding. Something within you is saying, let's get it. Let's try that thing over there. And that desire is feedback, right? Like it's data to you. And hopefully you can, shift some of that, especially if there's some messaging in there about don't take more than your share, don't be too big for your britches, all of those statements. If it's in there, don't be greedy. You can it might still come up. This is part of shifting your neural pathways. Let the thought come up. You can't do anything about the first thought, but you can follow it up with, wait a minute, I think that's just data coming in. I obviously want more and I'm being called to expand. So let me take that into consideration as well. And wanting more doesn't mean you don't like what you have. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate what you have. It means your frequency is going up, your evolution is rising, you're moving up the chakras in your expansion and your evolution, and you can still love what you have and want more. I would say that it's actually imperative that that happens because a gratitude practice and a true appreciation of what you have will always help you to expand in what's coming to you or what you're experiencing. And there's a big difference between ego chasing and soul aligned ambition. Now, I love the ego. I love the ego. The ego helps us apply for the job that seems like it's a little bit too far out of our reach. The ego gives us permission to, or the push to try a sport that we thought there's no way I'm ever going to be any good at that. The ego is your human element. We don't want to get rid of it. But there is a difference between what's being called, only fulfilling your ego and soul aligned ambition. So soul aligned ambition would feel like, okay, this job that I'm in is, it's fulfilling my financial needs and I like the people I work with, but there's not enough joy in what I'm doing to stay here, another couple years. And I have a friend who's going through this right now. And I said to him, you coasting is you actually allowing the ego to take over because you're not going for those jobs. That's the limiting side. And that's the saboteur side. So start applying for the fact that you just get good at applying for things and you get good at interviews and go for those positions because he is so, so, so underemployed, overemployed. He's overemployed. No, underemployed, underemployed because he has so many other skills that it, it need to be expressed in order for him to really like what he does. So that's a combination of the ego getting in the way and the soul pulling him over here saying, remember those things that you really like to do that most of the population don't like to do, cost analysis and budgets and big old reports and stuff. He loves to do those things, but his ego and his subconscious is smushing him saying, just stay where you are. It's a good paycheck and you like the people. Both of those things are true. And he definitely wants more. His soul wants more and his human self wants more. And that goal is a beautiful thing because it gives you something to strive for. And it's about becoming more honest with yourself. I always say to my clients, we do not need to take out a billboard. We do not need to announce the fact that you will be leaving. What's that expression? This is not an airport. You do not need to announce your departure. You don't have to say anything. You can absolutely energetically prepare to move to the next step, the next place, and you then have to take action. I mean, This isn't a magic wand society. You do have to take some action, but the more honest you are with yourself about where you are without judging it and what you want more, it will help you to then take the concrete steps that are necessary to have that show up in your life. Because listen, UPS is not going to deliver if you don't place the order. They're just not going to do that. So, what if you started listening to yourself and paid attention on a daily basis, several times a day, about asking, what am I settling? Where am I settling? What more do I want? And now that I know I want more, what else can I do to create that? First, I'm going to stop saying I'm fine when I actually want more. I'm going to stop minimizing the fact that there's a desire within me to experience more, to learn more, to teach, to mentor, whatever it is that you want to do. If you find yourself saying I'm fine, do a little check of yourself and say, no, I can name emotions. I'm bored. I'm unsatisfied. I'm antsy. I'm nervous about things. I want more, and I can feel myself holding back. So by doing that, by recognizing each time that voice comes up, it'll quiet it down, and then it'll strengthen the right side of the brain, which can then connect to that intuitive center that's in the right side of the brain. And you could ask, okay, what direction shall I head? And when you do that, you become aware of what you're editing and what you're holding back on in your world. And if you have a friend in your life that will call you on this stuff, I have a few and I'm so grateful to them because they don't let me get away with minimizing in my language. And because it'll come out, right? You'll speak it out loud. And I have quite a few people around me that will say, well, I don't understand why you're asking for less. And I'm like, ooh, I was asking for less. Guess where this topic came from? Huh? 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 Guess. So what do you want that you keep editing down, that you keep minimizing or knocking down? And then who benefits when you stay small? There's bound to be someone in your circle besides yourself that will benefit from that. And it's very rare that we have, family and friends and all of them are cheering for us. I don't like it, but they can also be your teachers. So who benefits when you stay small? This was a very big part of my former marriage. He wanted the benefits of me being successful, but he didn't want me to be successful. And we had many conversations about that. Now that he's croaked, I'm sure he's fine with it. But who benefits from you staying small? It's important to ask these questions because we all have that tendency to dial ourselves back. And those that have had the conversation and those that feel that pull more brilliantly and more cleanly will hear it, but they won't listen to it. So they'll be able to identify that the voice inside their head is probably somebody else's voice, but they're not willing to listen to it. And what would you be willing to admit if you knew that there was no judgment? Well, I would love for you to live in non-judgment of yourself, but uh, this is likely going to go out to those around you. And if you knew that there would be absolutely no judgment and no longer exists in the world, it's not a vibration that's there, what would you admit? What would you admit you wanted? Do you want to go to cooking school? Do you want to travel? Do you want to go back and get your MBA? Are you ready to date? Are you ready to be in a relationship? What would you do? What would you admit, rather, if you knew you wouldn't be judged? Would you live out loud as your beautiful, colorful self? Would you stop talking to some people because they're just not good for your mental health, what would you do? What would you admit? Get the paper and pen out and write it out. Wanting more does not make you too much. Did you hear me? Wanting more does not make you too much. It may actually be the first honest thing you have said to yourself in a while. I want. Start saying those words. I want. I want. I would like. Magic wand, wouldn't it be nice if? You know what would be great? I say that to Mike all the time. You know what would be great? What would be great is if, weeds didn't exist in my blueberry patch. I don't know what to call it. What do you call it? It's not an orchard quite yet because it's got 13 plants and 4 raspberry plants, but I'm working on it. Like, wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to pull up the weeds in between the mulch? That's a mundane example, but you get my point. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody was kind to each other? Wouldn't it be nice if my emotions and my physical body both met on the same day to work out? Wouldn't it be nice if the next time my sister says to me that I have no business wanting more, I look directly at her and say, I have a soul business to want more, and I am activating that soul today. So what if you gave yourself that little bit of a challenge, but also the permission to want more, dream about what that would be like, and then take the first action? Don't worry about the 5th, 6th, 7th. Just take the first. Just take the first. And I'm here to help if you need help. Thank you so much for popping into this episode and listening. I hope we had a good walk or a drive, or you were baking something, or you were sitting looking out at your beautiful trees and enjoying yourself. And I appreciate you bringing me along no matter what we did. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Joy Compass. I am so grateful you are here. And I'd just like to leave you with what I would consider a listening agreement. By listening to this podcast, you agree to stay open, curious, and connected to your own intuition. You agree to take what resonates and throw out the rest into your body, into your breath, and into your lived experience. You agree to honor your humanity, trust your soul's voice, and let joy guide your next step. This is not passive listening, and this is not toxic positivity. This is conscious receiving. Thank you so much for being here.